Ask Reddit. Reddit, what is the worst / most embarrassing thing to happen to you involving bodily fluids? I'll start. Maybe NSFW? This happened to me when I was 13. In school, my friends liked to play this stupid game called Nut Check, in which they would punch you in the ball sack when you weren't expecting it. One day, I'm with some friends in the hallways talking. My best friend came from behind me, wrapped around, and uppercutted my balls. Needless to say, I was in excruciating pain. I stayed on the floor for 10+ minutes crying. When I was finally able to get up, I proceeded with "why day" as he laughed the whole afternoon. Fast forward to that night at home. I go to take a shower, look at my testicles, and my left one is the size of a baseball. I kid you not. I rush to the hospital, and it turns out I have a testicular contortion. This is where the most embarrassing moment of my life will occur. I get there, and after a few tests, they decide to give me an ultrasound. I'm in the empty room with just a robe on. In comes a beautiful Asian nurse. I didn't know exactly what an ultrasound consisted of, but I found out really quick. She comes in with the ultrasound lube, or whatever they call it. If you've never had one, this lube is warm. She pours it on my testicles and proceeds for the next 2 minutes to maneuver her hands around my genitalia. I stayed calm for all but 10 seconds after it started. Then I realized that my penis was getting erect, so I started to panic. I tried not thinking about it and had my eyes closed. Before I knew it, she lifted up my penis to go under my shaft to put the lube there. Bad idea. My penis was in the trajectory of her face, and not long after I exploded. My semen hit her mostly on the shoulder, but some of it got on her chin. She just looked at me with a blank face. Remember, I was 13 and had never had semen come out of me, so the load was large. I literally got up, left my clothes there, grabbed my dad and ran, but naked with just the gown, to my car. Me and my dad have never spoken about it again. TL. Doctor, punched in groin. Went to hospital. Had ultrasound by hot nurse. Got too excited and exploded semen on her. I was traveling across Malaysia and ended up on an island off the coast called Chiamen, I think. Now, I always like to sample the local cuisine, so you might think you know where this is going. After a local fish dish, I have a very dodgy stomach. The only toilets are the hole in the ground type, and I'm not too good with those. In fact, on the second day I am so ill that I begin to hallucinate and scare the living crap, no pun intended, out of the girl I'm traveling with and would have been sleeping with if I could stay out of the toilets for more than 5 minutes at a time. Honestly, I thought I had malaria or something. I saw ducking worms coming out of the walls. Anyway, when I was a kid, if I ever ate boiled eggs I would become heavily constipated. So I reasoned that if I eat a load of boiled eggs here it should have a similar effect and bung me up. I go to the local restaurant and ask them to boil me a load of eggs. I don't speak the local language, so I point at stuff and somehow we sort it out. I didn't do it myself because there was no cooker in our room, just a bed and a mosquito net. So the cook serves up my boiled eggs, but for some ducking reason he's put them in a curry sauce of some kind. WTF. But at this point I'm too ill to argue. I'm losing body mass and look ducking terrible. I eat the eggs. What happened next? Well, this pretty much scarred me for life. The girl I was with has not spoken a word to me since this event, back in 2002. For most of that night I was okay. I farted every now and then, but it wasn't too bad. The smell was awful, but that was it. And then it happened. I felt a fart building. This was in the early hours of the morning, and I thought I'll let it out slowly so I don't wake her. But no. A gentle fart turns into something wet. I bolt for the toilet, but it's too late. I'm ducking, spraying liquid crap everywhere, and I can't stop it. I pebble dash the bedroom, the toilet, end up standing in the shower desperately trying to wash this crap away. She is in the bedroom weeping. I'm in the shower crying. It ducking lasted hours. I was about 3 stone lighter when it ended, and it took a whole day to clean that ducking place up. She couldn't even look at me. She took a ferry off the island without even telling me, and I ended up traveling alone for a couple more weeks before I went home. Crap happens, I guess. I was at my then girlfriend's place, which she shared with her sister. My GF and I had just finished having a 6, and I had finished inside of her. As she was heading to the washroom to do whatever she did after 6, my semen came out of her onto the floor. Her sister's cat ran from around the corner and furiously started to lap it up. My GF ran over to stop it, and the rest of Milo dropped out of her vagina onto the cat's back, and the cat took off. We never got to the cat, and when her sister came home it jumped onto her lap and purred contentedly as she pet it. I didn't see any crusty bits, so all's well that ends well. TL. Dr. My GF sister's cat accidentally ate my cream pea. Upvote for having a sex. A few weeks ago I noticed a lump in my scrotum and naturally went to the DRs to get it checked. He told me it was cyst and to wait the weekend to see if it got bigger or painful. During the next couple of days, it went from the size of a large olive to the size of a lemon and was hurting immensely. So after another trip to the DRs he said to go to the emergency depot at the hospital to get it cut out because it was infected. So I checked into the ED and had a plethora of nurses, doctors, surgeons, med students and nearly every man and his dog coming to gawk at this massive growth in my beanbag. I got hooked up to a drip ready for surgery the next morning when a group of young trainee nurses, about 9 or 10 of them, with some senior nurses came to have a look at it. Now mind you my junk was exposed the whole time because the cyst made it tough to cover up and they were all looking and trying to hide their smiles. I have piercings in my scrot which didn't help. I could hear people giggling outside of my room the entire afternoon, so I got used to the slice smirks and whatnot. Anyway, these nurses were all gathered closely around my nethers looking and prodding, while one of the senior nurses made some jilted speech about the dangers of injecting drugs into your crotch. I didn't do that, but the DRs wouldn't believe me. One of the younger prettier nurses was jabbing the cyst with her finger to feel how hard it was, and I'm sure you can guess what happened next. It was like a hand grenade went off in her face. The ducking thing exploded in a shower of brown and yellow pus all over her face and sprayed the other young ladies standing next to her. And the stench. If you could imagine eating 3 square meals of cat crap, yakking it up, and mixing in Neanderthal hair and making a fire out of the concoction, you might have an idea of how bad it was. The look on this girl's face will haunt me for the rest of my days. She stood there, pus dripping out of her open mouth and eyes clenched as rivulets of Satan's ooze ran down her delicate face. But damn if she wasn't the strongest person I've ever seen. She calmly opened her eyes, turned and walked out of the room to go clean herself off. By this time there were hysterics as the other nurses covered in gunk realized just what the duck had happened. They ran around grabbing towels and screeching while the senior nurses laughed their butts off. They literally had to sit down because they lost their breath from laughing so hard. To make it worse, it was Valentine's Day, and that was the closest I got to blowing fluids into a girl's mouth. TLDR, blew a titanic volume of Satan's ooze into a pretty girl's face. Edit. Thanks to the people who read this. Typical that my most read comment has to be this one. If I could find the nurse who got the mouthful, I'd buy her dinner. She was a real trooper. And for those that are calling bullcrap, I applaud your opinions, strangers. I wish it wasn't true, because I no doubt scarred that girl for life. You are the master of descriptive speech. Was working at a restaurant. Kid and father come in. Kid has a hot dog. Our hot dogs were not the greatest. Kid asks for a balloon. I bring both the balloon and the hot dog. Excited kid wants to be able to hold both, so the dad ties the balloon to the kid's wrist. Kid eats the hot dog and projectile vomits all over the table, the booth, the floor, and, importantly, the balloon. Dad cuts the balloon off the kid's wrist, takes the kid to the bathroom. While they're doing their thing, the balloon starts drifting, dripping vomit on other tables, and nearing a ceiling fan. Uh-oh. So I grab the balloon and say, hey, I need to deflate this. So I also grab a fork. Let me pause here to say that my concentration face when doing a meticulous task involves a slightly open mouth. I'm a genius, so I grab the skin near the nipple of the vomit balloon between my fingers and try to puncture it with a fork to let the air out slowly. The balloon popped, spraying my gape face with hot dog vomit. The father didn't leave a tip. I was not allowed to go home early that day. TL. Doctor, vomit balloon. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below, and we'll see you in the next one.